straight from the United Kingdom. Please welcome Katie Hopkins.
Thank you so much, everybody. So I'm going to make a suggestion now. Well, you can cheer as well. Cheer, everybody give a big cheer, that's great. If you would like to, if you can't see, if you're chilly, if you can't hear, get up, pick up your chair, and come closer. If you would like to come closer, do it now. Don't get to the end of this event and say, well, I couldn't really see, or I couldn't really hear. See these things just below your hips? They're called legs. Now, Americans aren't used to using them a whole bunch because you love your cars, but you can make that move now. So let's get moving. A little bit prickly for a few Americans, that. My name is Katie Hopkins. I am and I have to explain this first point because my hairstyle has changed. I am a straight, white, Christian, conservative, married mother of 3 children under the age of 16, a nationalist and a patriot, and I am proud to be all of those things. Absolutely. I have to explain the straight part because my hair was very short for quite a long time. And Americans got quite confused about whether I might actually be a lesbian or not, which is also fine. But I think it was your football team that did that for you. It became a sort of point I had to explain. I wanted to do a couple things first, and it's a house rule. So I just want to make some house rules really clear so if you can listen carefully. And the house rules are that there are no goddamn house rules and you can do what the bloody hell you like. One of the naughtiest things that President Donald J. Trump so far has done, apart from marry Melania instead of me, I don't know what the attraction was, is he banned British people from your fine country. So British people are currently not allowed into the United States of America. We're not allowed to be here because of our COVID record, and we're locking down harder than ever. But I wanted to join this fight for your great president and your country and Western civilization, so I broke my British ass back into this country to join that fight. I started out over 3.5 months ago now. I've been on the road for 3.5 months, a quarter of a year, fighting this fight right alongside you. And it's been one of the biggest adventures and the most uplifting experiences of my life. In order to break in, I had to do 15 days in isolation. They told me, listen, you could go to Iceland, you could go to Croatia first. And I was like, yes, screw that for a game of marbles, honestly. Then I heard you can go to Barbados. I've got 2 teenage daughters who are hormonal and horrible to live with, and it took me about 2.5 seconds to think, yes, that's exactly what I should be doing for 15 days in isolation. I had to have a COVID test done at the airport in Barbados. There was a Bayesian gentleman. I mean, he had some of the garb on as if he worked in the medical profession, but truly he was just a fisherman from the local village. He came up to me and he said a couple things before we do the test. He did it in a better accent than that, but my accents are terribly poor. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You got a seat? Go near the fires, it's all good. And he said to me 2 things before we do this COVID test. You do not touch me, and you have to sit on your hands. Now, ladies, I don't know the last time you went for any testing of any kind, but if someone told you you're not allowed to touch them and you had to sit on their hands, I think you tell them to stick it up their ass. So he comes at me at the baggage carousel, because it's obviously a Bayesian airport, so what the hell. And he comes to do this thing with the swab. Anybody, hands up, anybody that's had a COVID test, the swab up their nose. Yeah, right. You will notice that I have quite a prominent nose. I blame my father. So I was laughing, saying, well, you're going to need a bigger swab, son. Do you think you're coming anywhere near that? So he gets in there with his swab, rams it up, and you'll know if you've had this done. They come out somewhere near your left eyeball. Like, that's their aim, right? They're actually swabbing the back of your brain. And the reason they tell you, and I'm going to use you, so brace yourself, but you're a female, the reason they tell you you have to sit on your hands and you're not allowed to touch is the one thing that you want to do when someone shoves that into your brain is grab them by the testicles and turn those things really, really hard. So then for the next, I was put into isolation in a hotel room for 2 days, and then I had to spend the next 14 days ringing in twice a day with my temperature in order to check that I wasn't some kind of risk to the Bayesian people. So I rang in twice a day. Now, obviously, I didn't actually take my temperature. I just gave them the reading on the chart that was in the acceptable parameters, right? Detail. And finally, American Airlines. Where's the lady? You. A lady today was given a federal what? A federal warning for drinking a glass of water on an American Airlines flight. This lady here. Stand up a minute. Stand up. Come here. This lady, federal warning for drinking a glass of water on an American Airlines flight today. Take a round of applause. Round of applause, please, for this lady. She tried to hydrate. How bloody dare you? Call yourself an American. Christ, go and sit down. You're a health risk and a hazard. Avoid her. Trouble. That's what I'm telling you. Quite forgotten where I was now. So American Airlines, bastards, cancelled my flight to LAX. And so I hopped on a flight to JFK. Now, as it turns out, that was only JetBlue that was still in the air. Just only desperate airlines operating, right? Now, JetBlue I never knew before, but it turns out with JetBlue, not only do you get a ticket and you have to fight for a seat, you also have to put one arm out the window and also fly that goddamn plane. So I flew myself to JFK. Now I'm in the immigration hall, right? And this is the moment of truth. Will 15 days, ringing in twice a day, having a COVID test up my own nose, will it do? Will it do? Will I get in? So now I'm looking for an immigration officer that I think is going to let me in. And I think, well, I don't want that guy over there who looks a bit like a vegan. No. And I definitely don't want that lady over there who looks like she keeps cats and maybe is a little incontinent. What I want is the guy that looks like he might kill people for a living. So I went to that guy because he looked like one of our guys. He let me in and he said, welcome home. And I got my ass back into America 3 months ago. So now I'm at the baggage carousel, and of course I'm celebrating because this great thing has happened. I'm in, I've made it, I'm in, I did it, I got in, I did it, I beat the system. And then I realized I looked like a drug smuggler who just brought heroin into your country. Decided to play that down a little bit. But subsequently, I have spent these 3 months on the road, and it started with this idea that I was going to be campaigning for President Trump, right? But very quickly, it became something completely different than that. And it's become exactly what's happened here tonight. It became a way of getting people to break through and gather together for the first time, and then to look around and remember what they actually took from us. Because we think, you know, they took our faith, they took, oh, you wear a mask, you won't do that, you won't eat indoors, you won't go to that restaurant, we'll shut your business, you don't go there anymore, no you can't. What they took from us was this. They took the ability to fill each other up with the joy of simply being together in the same room. And that's what we're doing right now, and that's how we win this back. Defiance, respectful defiance is what we need to do, because our side is the best side to be on. Our side is now the side of joy and uplift. And the great thing about our side is that we don't really care what you want to do, how you want to live your life, where you want to go, what you want to wear there, how you want to be. We just want you to be the very best that you can be, and we ask that you don't ask us to pay for it or agree with your decisions. That's it. That's it. And you know, my lesson to myself has been, having broken on in here that I shouldn't be here, is that the time for asking permission is over. The time for waiting to be told yes or no is through. It's time to relearn that you make decisions for your life, you make your choices, and you live your damn lives just as free as you can be. That's the lesson that we all need to take away from tonight and as we go forwards. So I started off on my merry adventure, firstly through California, actually, and it's my personal belief. People say, oh, California, oh, we're all leaving. I know we're all leaving. But it is very true to say that the very best and the most true conservatives, the most true Republicans, the people who are the fighters on our side live right here in California. These are the best kind of conservatives to be part of. Because you have been kind of cradled in a bath of fire. And I don't mean that in a literal sense, although I take the pun. But when you are forged in a furnace, you become stronger. You are the strongest steel. And if I had any group of conservatives to be around, it would be you guys in California, because you have been forged in the fiery furnace. And it's a real strong conservative group here. Really. I promise you I didn't say this in Minnesota. Promise you. Promise you. So that you are really strong. So I started off, bear in mind this is 3 months ago now. Think how long it's taken to, manage to get ourselves together here. 3 months ago up in Sacramento, and I was supposed to be speaking at a spring dinner. So this was way back in March, and obviously that got cancelled. But when I got into America, I called the guy in Sacramento and I went, Bob, I just got in. We need to have ourselves a spring dinner. So they rallied together, 220 people in a yard in Sacramento gathering together because we were going to make that spring dinner happen come hell or high water, and we did. And we called it a John Lewis Memorial, very respectfully. But in fact, it was 220 great conservatives in a room, and I applaud them for having the balls to do that actually 3 months ago. Coming down to Redlands and Murrieta, Pastor Tim Thompson, who has kept his church open this whole time. Pastor Tim Thompson, look up his name. He says, I bend on the knee to no man but God. He says to other pastors, why are your doors not open? He says, let me show you how you open the doors of your church. You take the key, you go to your church door, and you open your doors up. He is that direct. He's that guy. And it's a dream to be amongst that. He also knows there's consequences. He believes on the 4th of November they will come for him for breaking and going against the system. But he says that's part of a journey he's willing to be on. And his congregation has grown to 5 times the size over lockdown because people are looking for somewhere. People need to find somewhere to come back to. People want somewhere to belong to. And so one of the effects of this lockdown, as many of you will know, is that attendance at synagogues, at churches that have kept their doors open has gone into the ether. Like, it's been an incredible thing. It's been like a rebirthing of religion and people's faith. And that's a glorious thing that's happened as a consequence of that. From California, I moved across to Minnesota and the dark lands of Minneapolis. Now, I like to say I have 3 children under the age of 16. Clearly, in the crack huts of Cedar Riverside in Minneapolis, they have 16 children under the age of 3. This is Ilhan Omar's district, right? It is the darkness. And what they've done is they've taken the European model, the British model, and they have implemented it wholesale in Minnesota. They have ripped the heart out of Minnesota, and they've turned it dark blue by importing, as you all know, dark blue. And it's a model they're going to try and push again and again. You're already seeing it, Austin, wherever. It's the worry we have about Californians that aren't us moving to Texas, right? Because we don't want what they're going to be bringing. So they've ripped the heart out of Minneapolis. And of course, what you've been left with is a state whose heart is red. Minnesota beats red, 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 but of course it's represented by the darkest of blues. I went to the George Floyd Memorial. I went to Walmart first. I didn't go like this because I think I may have stood out as something of a Republican. I don't know, you can't say. I'm not saying the Democrats are not well dressed, but they sure are ugly. I went to Walmart and brought myself a Walmart outfit so that I would fit right in. And I went up to that memorial early in the morning, and it isn't entirely welcoming, Minneapolis. Let me put it that way. It's a dark place. No one goes there anymore. There's not a soul on the streets. People move, they scurry in the shadows of buildings now, like rats running. I watched a black gentleman go up to 2 ladies who were trying their best to have a meal, trying to defeat the system. He got his 2 hands, he took the food off their plates with 2 hands and walked away, because that's the sort of permissive culture there now is in those places, because Black Lives Matter so much that you can take anything you want. Up at the George Floyd Memorial, I pretended I was on their side. I asked the lady at the gate, where they've now sort of sectioned off an entire area of Minneapolis as their own, George Floyd territory. I said, I'd like to give a donation Who do I give the donation to? And she said, oh, you just put it right here in my pocket. Put it in her pocket. And they told me, because they thought I was on side, that they are going to take that 38th Street sign. They're going to go to the white suburbs on the 4th of November, and they're going to bring the George Floyd experience to the white suburbs. That's what's coming to the suburbs of Minneapolis. And I worry that women there with their Biden-Harris signs have no idea what's about to come. And they think those Biden-Harris signs are going to protect them. And they are very wrong. And I take no pleasure in saying that. Now, on a more uplifting note, Minnesota does have a heart that's truly red. I went out to a MAGA-SOTA rally in a cornfield in a spit and sawdust bar, and there were more muscles and men on bikes than I've seen in a very long time, and I was a very happy girl indeed. It was excellent. Most of them were completely off their faces by 10 o'clock in the morning, but they were having a great time, and they're Trump through and through and through. I rallied there in a field with 2,000 great Minnesotans, and the experience was so uplifting, and there is a real sense, a real positivity that Minnesota has been pushed beyond the edge of anything it can withstand, and that now Minnesota is going to turn red because it simply has to, and I believe them. I think they're going to get it this time. And of course, that's the story of so much of America, isn't it? That we hear a lot from the dark blue, but it's actually the areas of red that are the true heroes, the true Americans, the truth of what we are. And I'm a foreigner and an outsider, and I respect that. You've kicked the British out of here once before, and I know that you'll be quite happy to do it again. So I know my place in the grand scheme of things. You did the good thing, actually. I don't blame you at all. I went from Minnesota, Minneapolis, the darklands of Minnesota, to Dallas and the suburbs of Dallas. And I stayed in one of the wealthiest suburbs that there is. And of course, those houses there are spectacular. You know, I took a video for my children. I was like, would you believe this is one house? Like if Disney made houses, this is what they would do, except they probably wouldn't have the Mexican gardeners, I don't know. Anyway, these houses, of course, they're absolutely massive, but what do they have on them? Biden-Harris, right? The hypocrisy of the wealthiest of the wealthy. And in the morning when I went for my little run, the ladies would come out in their Lululemon yoga gear, and they either had a corgi or a husband, but not necessarily both, but definitely one or the other. That's like the accessory, right? If you haven't got a husband, you bring the corgi, and off they would walk to the park and have their cookie cutter tennis lesson, and then back they would go and talk about the new kitchen they were going to get. But each of them had their Biden-Harris sign. Or in front of one of them, behind the hedge so that you couldn't see it from the inside of the mansion, Black Lives Matter, but so that it could be seen from the roadside. Or even signs that you'll have seen yourselves that say, this house believes that. And then it lists off a whole bunch of things that this believes. I hate that. How did that happen? My father lived his whole life, and bear in mind my father's responsible for this nose, so how we're even talking, I don't know. My father lived his whole life not even telling my mother how he voted, because it was a private matter between himself and his government. That's what my father taught me. Now we live in a time where we have signs in our yard saying, this house believes that. Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, blah, 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 blah. Shibbity-wibbity wop, fluddy-bloody-blah, and wibbity-dibbity-doo, and Whole Foods are great. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't care what you believe. And I don't need to see it on a sign in your yard. What is that about with your stupid corgi that looks like it's about to fall dead from overeating? Anyway, a little bit of rage there. Okay, feel a bit better. It's essentially is therapy. Like, speaking isn't really what I do. It's just basically therapy for me after being on the road, so just bear with. But the point is that, you know, right next to these Biden-Harris signs, or this house believes that signs, are signs that say armed security patrols in operation. Don't you just love that? So, knockety knock knock. I see that you've got a Biden-Harris sign and Black Lives Matter. You know Black Lives Matter want to defund the police, but you've also got an armed security patrols in operation there. Can you explain that to me? Could you leave my property, please? Okay. That's how that conversation went. But it's the hypocrisy, and I think we saw that last night at the Biden debate. How did Trump do last night? Were we all uplifted? Oh my God. Thank God, right? Thank God. Was that first debate? Like, I was like, shall I have another baby or rewatch that first debate? I'm going to go for another baby. That was a painful experience for all of us. But Trump, if nothing else, learns quickly and is schooled well. And I think someone from his communication team basically took a taser to his testicles and said, if you pull that shit again, you're gone. Because he was just an uplift and a joy last night, wasn't he? Could Biden have stuttered any worse? Poor boys. Poor boys? I sorry, pardon, poor boys. Proud boys, thank you, sir. So that was uplifting for all of us. But that was Dallas, and that's the hypocrisy of Biden. 47 years as a public servant, and he lives in a house. You know, have you seen the size of that house? I mean, it's just disgusting. Right, absolutely. Onwards from Dallas and now to Florida and moving into the house, the campaign house of Laura Loomer, who's going to represent District 21 in Florida, hopefully. Now, I know we may all have different impressions of Laura Loomer. People think I'm an asshole, so why wouldn't you think she is? That's fine. But let me tell you, the campaign house for Laura Loomer is nothing like I thought. I thought it might be a bit like a frat house on acid, you know. I was like on the phone to my husband going, I may not last too long in this house. It is an intensely serious operation. Her campaign strategist, Karen Giorno, is the lady that won Florida for Trump back in 2016. She is 5'2", she's from New Jersey, and you do not mess with that woman. I've seen her go, and it's a scary thing. It's like having a terrier, you know, on hormones chewing at your ankle. She's tough. She has a campaign manager in that house, and he doesn't mess either, and they're working really, really hard. And I have to say, you know, as somebody, she's been banned more than anybody else. She is prevailing. And I applaud her, I salute her, and I think if she's listening so hard to that campaign manager, she deserves to be given a good shot. And she deserves more respect from the GOP than she's getting. You know, and that's one of our struggles, that we keep behind the line. It's not a conversation we would have outwardly. But the GOP produced a list of 30 fighters for Florida, all the candidates, and who do you think they left off? Laura Loomer. I think it's just that sort of thing that can be particularly hurtful when it comes from our own side, right? So leaving there and carrying along to a very elegant setting in Tampa, where I went to gather together good conservatives in Tampa. Now, when I landed, a lady came and grabbed me and she said, guess what? Judge Janine is in town doing a book signing. Let's go say hi. Now, many of you will know Judge Janine. She is a darling. She is just a joy to be around. She's super duper. If you can get her and get her to get everyone's phones down, she will tell it straighter than anyone I've ever heard speak. So, funny story, we're outside in Florida. Now, when Californians tell me they're thinking of moving to Florida, there's always the humidity factor, right? I didn't know it until I know it now. On that day, it was 80% humidity in Florida, and they was doing a book signing, and it had to be outside because COVID, whatever. And so we're now outside. Now, I rock up late, and so I'm good. I'm only going to be there for like 15 minutes. Judge Janine has been outside in 80-degree humidity for 2.5 hours doing a book signing. What she decided to wear, because she thought she was indoors, was a hot pink little suit. So cute. You can imagine her, you know, those little tight suits she wears. Hot pink trousers, hot pink jacket. She's fabulous. And anyway, but because it's 80 degrees humidity, ladies will know what happens to hot pink when it gets wet. So she's got dark pink going on here, dark pink band here, and a dark pink band that extends all the way down and through here as well. And she caught my eye, and she knows what I'm like, and she goes, just kill me now. It was the cutest thing. Everybody was the same. Like, she was not on her own with this. Everybody was just dripping wet. So I guess the kind of warning to Californians is, if you are thinking of going to Florida as your new base, you might want to think about, yes, you're moving there. You might want to think about some absorbent things in certain strategic areas. I don't know how that's going to work. Moving along. I got invited to speak at a massive rally in New Jersey. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever met ladies from New Jersey. Are you from New Jersey? That's why you got into shit on American Airlines for drinking the water. See, I can tell. New Jersey ladies for Trump. Woo! They are next level. Let me tell you, there is nothing they won't say or do or show or get out at any given moment, I can tell you. If there's one thing a New Jersey lady hates, it's any of the feminazis, right? Any of the feminists for Clinton. I mean, I think we're probably all agreed on the feminists for Clinton being assholes, right? 2016, you remember them? With their pussy hats? Do you remember those stupid damn hats? Are you one of them? You're laughing so hard. Did you have a pussy? Stand up. No, I'm getting the truth of this. Stand up, you. Did you have a pussy hat? Okay, we may have to get medical assistance for a table over here. I'm not sure have you had children? Because you can't laugh this hard and be on soft furniture. I'm just saying. Boys, let that one go over your head. This took a turn. We went saltier than I expected. How's Karen doing? She's fine. Okay, good. The Lux will never have me back. It's fine. And where's the gentleman from the Lux, actually? Well, before I go back to the feminazis, is the gentleman who do we have here from the Lux? Can I get a wave? Where is he? Is there any of the Lux stuff? Can I get a round of applause for the Lux staff? It's remiss of me. Thank you so much. Yeah, I apologise. I should have done that at the very start. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting us have us here, and I promise never to come back. So New Jersey and the feminazis, have you recovered on that table now? Yes. They really can't stand them. You will remember them when 2016, when Trump was being inaugurated, right? And I was there, many of us were there. And they were all there as well, because of course they'd been told, oh God, she's off again. They'd been told that Clinton was gonna win, right? 99.999% definitely gonna win. So they'd bought their flights, they'd bought their hotel accommodation, they bought the whole goddamn lot. And if there's one thing a feminazi is gonna do, it's they're not gonna waste their money. That is not going to happen, even if Trump gets in. So what did they decide to do? We're going to have a protest. Did anybody go to the Pussy March protests in DC when Trump was inaugurated? Do you remember Melania in the powder puff blue? Ooh, was that... Oh, I don't know how I'm still straight. And at the RNC, actually, in that green that military jacket, was that not just power? Oh. Anyway, and also she did hold Trump's hand last night, and all of that bullshit can just go and do one. Enough of all that. Feminazis. So they had these stupid damn signs because they were going to have a protest because they were already bought their tickets. So sign number one was save the polar bears. You know, save the polar bears in your bloody pussy hat. It's DC. Has there ever been a chuffing polar bear in DC? What, is it seal time in DC? Anyone seen a seal cub recently? Number one. Number two sign that I really, took offence to, my body, my choice. My body, my choice. With a body like that, girlfriend, you don't even get a bloody choice. Take what you're offered. Be grateful. Last time they saw any action, they were probably stuck in a door. And then, sorry, gentlemen, but I am going to go there. They love to talk about this area, which obviously we don't because we're polite conservatives. Not you. Don't you be nodding. You're the one that's in trouble. New Jersey, you. Signs. I'm sorry about this, sir. It's embarrassing, really, this close. My vagina is made of steel. Please. I mean, even if it is, who wants to know? I can fit a 14-ounce can of Coors inside mine, but I don't feel the need to brag about it. I mean, just please. So the feminazis, New Jersey Women for Trump, are not into that stuff. So they had a rally in a stadium, the Skyland Stadium. A gentleman, this is where the Lux is kind of on a parallel path for me. Skyland Stadium, gave over his whole stadium for New Jersey for Trump. He made it the Trump Stadium for the evening. He blasted Trump across the skyline, and he let New Jersey people come and rally and celebrate. And I tell you, it was so uplifting. 6,000 people, and Trump wasn't even there. Right, amazing in New Jersey. A really great thing, they had skydivers, right, to start off with. There were fireworks, there were skydivers, and this skydiving, they were a couple, a husband and wife. And the brilliant story is that in a time gone by when they tried to land, they'd had a small falling out in the light aircraft that they went up in, and they missed the goddamn stadium altogether. And I was like, please let this be the night where they miss the stadium, just for the, just right material for me for the next forever. So that was New Jersey. And then back to Florida, to Gainesville, speaking with the lovely Larry Elder. Yes. Gators, it's Gatorsville, isn't it? Where the alligators are. And I went to there's not much in Gainesville. Is that fair to say? No criticism, because I come from the countryside. I went to this place for lunch and they served briskets, and there was actual gentlemen in denim dungarees and hats sucking on straw. Like, I was like, this actually happened. I loved it. It was amazing. But Larry Elder was on really good form. 500 people in a room against the governance and against the wishes of those in control in Florida. But 500 people. And I know there's this idea that Florida is open. But many of you will know what happens in truth is there's a sort of wrestling between local councils and local people and who's got the power, and a wrestling to try and shut that down. They tried to shut it down, but the sheriff came along and said, you have your event, we stand with you, and we'll put police on the door to help your guests come in. So we have sheriffs with us too. And that's the spirit that I have seen across the whole of your great country. That's the sort of determination, is that when one man, one woman, where is Karen, makes a stand, people, there she is. Karen Siegemund, everybody. When one brave woman makes a stand, I have to thank you as well, because you were incremental on this, Michael. But when you make a stand, people, it only takes 2 people, I've worked out, in our case 3, to make this happen. It takes someone with the bravery to say, yes, we'll do it. Someone that's willing to say, come on, we're doing this. And then people come towards it. We're pulled towards it. It's like magnetism, right? And that was true in Florida as well. And then you get the sheriff in, and then the pastor who wants to be part of it. That's the truth of your great country. So finally, wending my way back here, so I feel like I've gone full circle. There's something that's so powerful for me about this whole experience. And the thing the reason I come here is I want to tell people, I speak for no one but myself, definitely no one but myself. But I want you to know that there are 20 million, at least 17.2 million great British people who are right alongside you in this fight. We love you, we support you, and we're cheering you on. You are our hope as well, and it's the reason I came, because we need you, and we need Trump, and we need you to stand up to be our hope, because we don't have it. And we're sorry you can't hear us. We're sorry if you think, I'm sorry if you think we're represented by London. That's like Minneapolis trying to speak for Minnesota, or bits of California trying to speak for the rest of good California that's sitting here. Our little Muslim mayor of London, he is this high, and that's not, no one should be short. I mean, short is just wrong. I don't agree with short people in any regard. I mean, maybe cute females, but that's it. He's a height I call nipple height. And I'm talking about my mother's nipples. So it's not a height you should be. But please know that the nipple height Muslim mayor of London does not speak for decent British people, and decent British people stand with you. Second up, of course, my country in the darkness is that my country will fall. We're gone. 2030, we're outnumbered. First name in the UK, Mohammed. Second name, Mohammed. And they hide that as well. We're not allowed to fly our English flag anymore because it's a racist symbol. As a conservative, I'm not allowed to adopt a child if I wish to, because I'm not seen as an appropriate person to adopt a child anymore. when they report my children to social services in the hope that they will be taken from me, the threat is a real one. And I say this not as some pity party, but when you're a minority in London, Luton, Bradford, Leicester, Birmingham, a white minority by 2040, the end game is in sight. My Jewish friends are moving out, of course, to Israel. And the hard thing for white Christian friends of mine is that we don't have an Israel to go to. And so we look to you to uphold Western civilization on our behalf. We need you. And there is many things, of course, that separate you from us as I pull this to a close for anybody that's freezing or cold or whatever. There are things that separate America from the UK, and those are not just that you have great teeth and customer service, although those things are true. And that was one great thing about the masks for a very short period. It hid my bloody awful teeth from the world. Everywhere I go, someone says to me, I'd really like you to meet someone. And they say, oh, this is my wife. She's a dentist. When I was in Gainesville, someone grabbed me by the arm and they said, I'd really like you to meet Bob. He's a plastic surgeon. Cheeky. The point is, apart from teeth and customer service, you're separated from us by your faith. You are still one nation under God. And that is something that is not being taken from you. And it's something that's been pushed in harder, actually. I see churches filling up. A lady in Minnesota I spoke to, heartbreaking story. The state has killed, Governor Walz killed her mother, effectively, by locking her down. You will know these stories. New York has these stories. Her mother went from a thriving 85-year-old to a lady who died, and she wasn't told until 2 days later. And she said the thing that sustained her is her faith, and she has gone to God. And I know that speaking to you earlier in terms of our memories of Phil, God is what we return to when we are feeling most lost. And that's true of this country. You are still one nation under God. Second up, your family. Americans will always fight for their families. Strong men, lionesses all. I've seen them in New Jersey. I spoke to a lady in Portland whose house burnt down, fires started by however many people. She said, and she looked me in the eye with a determination that an only 85-year-old lady has. She said, if they come on my property on the 4th of November, they should know they will not be leaving my property. This is for my grandkids. I'm going down fighting. And I've heard that time and time again. Americans have been pushed to the point where they refuse. If this election is stolen from Trump, they will not live. An 80-year-old gentleman in Florida, I will not live under Biden. I will sign up, I will fight, and I will go down fighting rather than live under that man. And that's something that joins us, I think, across America, the fight for your family. And please know, your family extends to Europe. Good people are right there with you. We applaud you. And you have freedom. I know it doesn't feel like it every day when you're told to put your mask on or you're given a warning for drinking some water. But the bedrock of this country is built on the finest document ever written, your American Constitution. It's the most important document I have. I have my British passport in my bag. I have my Constitution. My Constitution matters more. In fact, I was stopped. Last time I tried to go back into the UK, I was reprimanded because my passport was looking a bit tattered. And the border official said, well, you should take better care of your passport. And I said, if you took better care of my country, I'll take better care of my passport, son. And then I went off at some speed. Your Constitution, the finest document ever written, because of your Second Amendment, you still have your first. And you cannot buy a weapon in California, Dallas, Minnesota, Florida, any of the states I've been to. You can't buy a weapon, you can't buy ammunition. And I would argue, just like your faith, your Second Amendment has never been stronger in this country because of the cache of weapons now stashed across the states of America. It's a glorious thing. I'm a fully signed up member of the NRA, even though I can't have a weapon in my country, and I'm not allowed to protect myself with anything stronger than a bottle of hand sanitizer and this face. And this face has turned straight men gay. Most women have a car bumper sticker that says, oh, baby on board, or if you're apologising for being white, as is so fashionable these days, you know, I don't understand, but I stand. It's like polar bears in DC. My car has a bumper sticker that says, guns don't kill people, but I'm willing to. That keeps the mothers away. So these are the things that separate you from us, and it's the things we hold on to. When they try and drag you down, they try and make you feel less. You feel less than you were, or you feel like you can't take the day, or you can't take another of the death by 1,000 cuts of someone that doesn't matter to you telling you a rule that you don't need to know. Remember those things, that you have faith, you have family, you have freedom, you have much bigger things. And you have a family that extends to Europe, and we're all holding on to each other and asking you to keep going for us as well. And you know, when people ask me, I've been very fortunate in many ways because they took everything I have in the UK. I no longer have a home or a job. My children don't have my surname to try and protect them. I was also taken to the edge of darkness by my own medical condition, and I got cured. I'm already on extra time. So I am as free as I can possibly be, and that's a glorious thing. And so when people ask me, Katie, what can we do as individuals? What can we do when we leave here today? Respectful defiance needs to be our motto. The time for asking permission is over, a motto. And remember to try as individuals to live your life every day just as free as you can possibly be. Thank you very much for listening to me. My name's Katie Hopkins. Thank you. Thank you.